What's up, guys? So as promised, I'm doing the 20,000 subscribers Q&A. I'm very grateful for all of you guys sticking around, wanting to support. And like I said in my last Q&A video, every 10,000 we hit, I want to do one of these just because, there are a lot more people that are on the channel that don't know much about me. So I put a poll up on Instagram and on YouTube, giving you guys opportunities to ask me questions, and I'm gonna go through as many of those as I can. I think I can do them all, so this video might be a little longer than usual. But while I'm doing this, I went to the range today and all of my gear and my girlfriend's gear is dirty. So I'm gonna wipe that down while I'm doing this and oil the guns and stuff like that, just to give myself something to do while I answer your questions. First question, if you are religious, what's your view on the moment if it comes to taking a life? So I am religious, I'm Christian, but even in the Bible, there are war stories. There is loss of life in the Bible. Now, I don't believe in taking life unless it's justified. And when I say justified, I'm not saying for a personal cause. Self-defense is something that I do believe in heavily. And I really hope at no point in my life that I actually have to take somebody's life. But it is something that you seriously have to think about. I feel like a lot of gun owners don't think about this. They think of the idea of taking a life, but not actually having the mental capacity of can I handle doing something like this? And that's something that I do think about probably on a weekly basis. Am I mentally prepared to do this? And I think it's very important to exercise that thought because you won't have time in the moment to make that split decision. That decision has to be made ahead of time. I think, in a self-defense situation, it is okay to do that. But I do not condone violence in any way. I think that words and conversation can resolve a lot of conflict. Not all conflict, but a lot. And I think a lot of people in this industry are too quick to wanting to pull the trigger. Are PCCs still a relevant tool or just a fun range toy? I think they're relevant. I don't have any and I don't see myself buying one anytime soon, but they're really fun to shoot. Being able to shoot 9mm in kind of like a rifle configuration is really cool. I think that's also a pretty cool self-defense choice. I know a lot of people say 300 blackout or even a rifle, but I think in a home, 9mm is okay depending on the context. And for me personally, that's the first firearm I'm able to get to quickly if something were to happen in the middle of the night. Now, obviously, I have my rifle with me, but I have to go and get that. My pistol is on my nightstand every single night, loaded and ready to be used if necessary. So having a PCC, just having that in the corner next to your nightstand, that's something you could do as well. I guess you could do that with a rifle too, but I don't know. I just feel like PCCs are still relevant. They're really cool in the competition space. I know they get a lot of hate, but there's a reason why they're still making PCCs to this day. Saw your vid about starting a YouTube channel. What's the bare minimum equipment you need to start? So there's this channel that I like to watch, and it goes by Nightwood Guns. And all he has is a microphone and his phone. Literally that's it. I think he has a light as well, like a cheap, well, I don't know if it's cheap, but you can get cheap lights on Amazon, like ring lights. And then all you really need is your phone camera and a good microphone, and that's all you need. When I started YouTube when I was in high school, and I have had many channels since then. All I had was a GoPro. I didn't even have a good mic. The audio in the GoPro was horrible, but I still made videos. And honestly, just your creativity with a cell phone can go a very long way. And even cell phone mics are really, really good now, like the newer iPhones and stuff like that. So don't think you need a bunch of camera gear. Me personally, I have camera gear from running a videography company in the past. But even now, people get surprised when I tell them that my camera gear is really old. My camera came out in 2014 and I still use it. And it still looks just as good as some of the newer cameras now. You just have to learn the basics and the fundamentals of videography, and you can make anything look really, really good given you have the skill set. Just picked up my M&P 2.0 with a 4.25 barrel and the caliber is 40. Any recommendations? So I'm not sure what you're asking by just any recommendations. Maybe what you should do to it. The only things I would say is all you need is a weapon mounted light and a red dot and a ton of magazines. If you're asking my opinion on it, I personally prefer 9mm over 40, but I don't think it really matters as long as you just train with it. I think 9mm, you can get faster follow-up shots and you can tame the recoil a lot easier because 9mm pretty much has no recoil by itself. But 40 is still cool, and I don't hate anybody that shoots it. Roughly how many rounds do you have through the M&P 2.0 platform in total? Okay. Man, that's tricky. I'm gonna disassemble these two guns real quick. I can't do that on YouTube, so I'm just gonna cut to me, have them disassembled so I can wipe them down. So give me a second. Man, these are dry. Very dry. I ran these things hard today. Wow, okay, through my M&P, how many rounds? That is a tricky one. I know I'm really bad at this. I don't count my rounds, I just go and shoot. I got the 5-inch a couple of months ago. I know in the first month I hit 1K because I was really trying to break it in. I don't know, maybe I'm at the 5K, 6K mark with this. And then my 4¼ inch, I had that for months, maybe a year before I even got this. I would say anywhere between 10 and 15. Yeah, that sounds a lot better, 10 and 15. I hear Holliston is using the US market as testing grounds for the Chinese army. Thoughts? Yeah, so there's a lot going on with China right now and with Russia, you know, because they're kind of in cahoots with each other. I talk about politics a lot with my friends and stuff, and I'm not saying I'm not going to talk about politics on this channel. Well, it's not that I don't want to talk about politics on this channel, but when I created this channel, I made sure very clearly what I wanted this channel to be. And I wanted this channel to be an outlet for people enjoying a hobby. And obviously, a lot of the two-way stuff is very political. With recent events, you know, silencers and suppressors are kind of being looked at in a different light. We also have multiple accounts of if SBRs are going to be a thing or not in the past. And with the heated stuff going on with the US and Russia and China, Holliston is kind of like, they're going to be looked at differently because of recent events, pretty much. And I have no idea if that's true. I'm not going to say that it's impossible. I think we do have to be careful with creating our own false narratives. I'm not saying you did that. You asked a question, that's valid, but I don't have enough data or done my own research on that topic. So I think it's inappropriate for me to just come up with an answer that has no validity or no backing to it. If that is true, that's very concerning. Holliston right now is obviously my favorite red dot company because for what you get for the price, I don't think many other companies are doing that. But if I do my own research and I see that's the case, that is something I would have to change because, you know, that could be supporting a foreign threat. What's your secret for them oak tree legs of yours? Okay, so fitness, which I love to talk about. My leg days, I used to do leg day almost twice a week for a little while. But then I changed it back to once a week because I started really pushing myself. Really, it's just consistency. So my leg days consist of standing calf raises. Like this is how I do it in order. And all of these workouts, I do 4 sets of 12 for the first 2 sets and then 10 for the second 2 sets. So I do standing calf raises and then I do seated calf raises. Then I do leg press. And I know some people are like, oh, leg press, why don't you squat? I don't squat because it really messes up my lower back. And I've been weightlifting for about 7 or 8 years now. You just have to kind of formulate, you have to listen to your body over time and see what works for you and what doesn't. So when I tell people I don't squat anymore, I don't even know what my max squat is now. I haven't done a squat, like a really tough squat, in probably 3 or 4 years. But I'll do the leg press, and then after that, I'll do leg curls, then I'll do RDLs. If I'm really feeling like I want to hit my quads really, really hard, I'll do leg extensions right after, and then I finish it up with hip abductions. And the key to, you know, the growth with fitness is you have to be pushing yourself every session. Are there some days where I go into it and I'm just kind of like, you know, moving weight around because I feel off? Yeah. You know, it's better to do something than nothing. But I would say 70 to 80% of the time I go to the gym, I'm really pushing myself to failure. And that's where I see the most growth. Part of it is also genetics, so I can't sit here and take full credit for that. How to get into rifle competition. So I've answered this a few times on other videos, but what I would do is go into a website called Practice Score, and you'll be able to find local matches near you. And what I always tell people is, if you're intimidated to go to a match or to shoot a match, just find the times on Practice Score and then show up to the match without signing up and just ask to watch. I've never been to a match where they tell you you can't watch. They want the sport to grow. So they're always encouraging people to come and watch and get a feel of it. And they'll talk to you about, you know, your experience and, you know, what you're curious about and answer any questions you may have. And then after you've watched a match, or maybe even 2, I only watched 1 before I decided to sign up. But after you've watched 1 or 2, then sign up. and then tell them it's your first time, and you'll have somebody there to help you, go through all the rules, the range commands, safety rules, all that stuff. So go to practicescore.com and find what's local to you. And then honestly, just watch a match. They're really, really fun. And I am very happy that this is something that I participate in pretty regularly. And once you start, it's really hard to stop because you're always gonna wanna get better. Give a brother some pistol competition tips. Pistol competition tips. One of the tips I can give that's really helpful for me, use them as a testing ground. And what I mean by that is shoot a match just with the skills that you have right now. And depending, you'll see what you're not good at very quickly. Like every stage is pretty much a cold start. And what I take away from each match is I'll see where I'm lacking, and then I'll go work on that at my next range session. So if you're shooting a competition, let's just say once a month, and you're having trouble, with your trigger pull. And when I say trigger pull, I mean you're aiming at a certain spot and then it's hitting low to the left or high to the right. That is you adding input with your grip. So what I would do after that is go to the range, or not go to the range right away. I would go to YouTube and figure out, why are my shots doing this? YouTube is where I've learned majority of my skills. Watch a couple of videos and then maybe find a couple of drills you can run, and then go to the indoor range and just shoot and work on that one specific skill. Then go back to a match, see how you do, and then you'll find something else that you're not too good at, and then you just repeat that cycle over and over. What is your ideal length for SHTF rifle / truck rifle? So this might be a hot take, but I don't really believe in truck rifles. Not that they're not useful, but it's just hard for me to justify, if something happens, to just get out of my car or to have to lean into my back seat to grab a full rifle to engage a threat when I always have my pistol on me. I drive with my pistol on my person. So my pistol is my go-to when I'm out and about. But pivoting over to SHTF, I think I've said this in other videos. My 16-inch is my go-to, and it is the only rifle that I own right now. I am working on getting a second one that's a little bit more geared towards competition and close quarters kind of stuff. But this is my go-to. Everyone has their own opinions, but I think starting with a 16-inch is a really good option if you can only have one gun. And with this, you get pretty good velocity with the 5.56 caliber, and it's not too long to where you can't maneuver it indoors. I've done my fair share of LARPing in the house where I've gone room to room trying to clear with this, and it is very doable. A lot of people say you can't do this with a 16-inch rifle, and is it easier with an 11.5? For sure, but 16 inches, honestly, is a great all-around length. Same with 14.5 pin and welded, or even a 13.7. And if things are falling apart, I wanna have the capability of reaching out if I have to. Not saying that that's even feasible or ethical to do in that situation, but you never know what kind of situation you'll be in SHTF. So just having the ability to do that gives me a warm feeling. So I would say 16 inches is a good, survival rifle length. What is your background? So I get this asked a lot online and in person. I get asked if I'm a cop, I would say almost monthly. My background is I'm a kid that grew up in the suburbs of Georgia, and he likes filming stuff with his camera. I have no military background. I have no law enforcement background. I've never worked security a day in my life. I'm just a normal civilian. I'm just a normal guy that loves to shoot and that loves to prepare. That's all. But yeah, I'm just a regular guy and I have zero professional training. This is all just a hobby for me and it's really fun, and I love sharing my experience with you guys. What are the best hiking and tactical training boots? So the boots that I wear almost 99% of the time, they're just Timberland hiking boots. Maybe I'll leave a link in the description so you guys can see it, but they're really affordable. They're like $89 or something like that. And my friend Cole at my last job, he put me onto them, and they're waterproof as well. So I wear those all the time. They're pretty comfortable and they're cheap. And the two pairs that I have, the brown ones, which I wear majority of the time, they're actually kind of falling apart, but that's after like everyday wear. That's like an everyday shoe for me for over 3 or 4 years now. So I think the durability on them is really good. Are they the best shoe? I don't know. I haven't tried every single boot out there, but I do want to invest into some higher quality boots when I get a chance. And then maybe I'll do a review on them as well. How did you come up with your name? All right, yeah, this is a good one. I get this one asked a lot because people are like really confused on the concrete cowboy thing. So a couple years ago, I watched this movie on Netflix and it's called Concrete Cowboy, or it might be Concrete Cowboys. It's a group of guys in Philly that have a ranch in the middle of the city. And these guys are like riding horses and taking care of horses in the middle of the city, like the ghettos of Philadelphia. And it's called Concrete Cowboy, and it was a pretty interesting movie. And I really like that concept because my family's from New York. I was born here in Atlanta, but I grew up near the city in the suburbs of Atlanta. And I tended to gravitate towards outdoor hobbies. Like I joined Cub and Boy Scouts. I do enjoy camping. I just love doing outdoor things and, shooting guns outside, all that stuff. And I think that name really resonated to me because I did not grow up on a ranch or like where real cowboys are at, but like the concrete jungle kind of was my ranch. So with Concrete Cowboy, it really represents me as a person because I'm a city boy that has taken a liking to more outdoor activities. And I pride myself for being able to go into both environments very comfortably. I love spending time in the city. I love, all the new restaurants, all the activities. But then on the flip side, I like to go camping, shooting outdoors, hiking, and sightseeing. So yeah, I like to think of myself as a hybrid between the two worlds, and that's why I'm the Concrete Cowboy. Are you located in West Virginia? If so, ever considered a meet and greet? I'm in the Eastern Panhandle. So yeah, I get this question a lot too. A lot of people think I'm from West Virginia because I wear that West Virginia hat. And I wear that West Virginia hat because my girlfriend's family lives up there. I was born and raised in Georgia, and then I'll occasionally go up to West Virginia to visit my girlfriend's family. So I'm not from there, but I represent them just because, they're hopefully one day gonna be my extended family. Where do you get your relaxed fit / stretch outdoor pants? So I guess you're talking about these right here. These are Wranglers and I get them from Walmart. You can get them off their website too, and they're literally called outdoor pants. My jeans that are also very stretchy, they're Wrangler as well, and they're the UltraFlex pants or the UltraFlex jeans, and they're pretty affordable as well. I'm starting to see these pants get more and more popular in the gun world, but again, I mentioned his name before, but my buddy Cole put me onto them. And I started buying them a couple of years ago because for a great price, you get amazing comfort, flexibility, and they're pretty durable. These are really thin, but they're durable enough to where like you'll have them. Like these are the first pair I ever bought, and I still wear them. So they're like 4 or 5 years old now. But you can see a lot of wear and tear on them. So Wrangler outdoor pants, you can get them at any Walmart. Well, I shouldn't say any Walmart, but every Walmart I've gone to has them in multiple colors. And I think they're like 26 bucks for a pair. Super nice. And I love the elastic waistbands because it makes concealed carrying a lot easier when the waistband can just stretch up to like 2 sizes higher. 55, 62, or 77. What grain do you train with compared to functional use? 55 grain is what I train with majority of the time, just because it's cheap and like I'm not really worried about the ballistic coefficient on those. Those are just literally training ammo. But when it comes to functional use, I rock 77 grain, and I rock the OTM or the AAC OTM 77 grain. I'm not made of money, so it's a really cheap option that's somewhat reliable and consistent. It's definitely not the best ammo out there for shooting long range with 5.56 or shooting at distance with 5.56, but it's better than other cheaper brands. So do you have any idea when you're going to reveal your face? And if so, how? So for people that don't know, the reason why I blur my face is not because I'm in the military or anything like that, or I'm doing something, covert. I'm just a civilian, like I've mentioned, but there are people that are very close to me that have sensitive jobs, and 2 of them have jobs that don't really like firearms. So I wanted to start a YouTube channel regardless. And I figured if I want to do something without, potentially getting these people in trouble because their socials and stuff get checked, then I would just blur my face. As contradictory as it sounds, I'm not going to let somebody else determine if I can start a YouTube channel. But at the same time, I don't want to take away the people that I care about's livelihood. So really it's for them. And they've told me I should just unblur it because, it's not fair to me. So blurring my face started out with that, but now it's become more of a statement. It's not really about me. I'm not really looking for all the fame and being, the most famous YouTuber. What I'm doing is just sharing knowledge with you guys, and I think it's really fun to do that via camera. And I don't think it's necessary to put the spotlight on me. When my face is blurred, yeah, it could be a distraction to some people watching, but for the most part, you guys are more so focused on the information that I'm giving you guys as opposed to like, what does this individual think about the topic? At least that's what I'm hoping you guys are, thinking. How to train in countries with restrictive gun laws, such as Canada recently. I don't know every single gun law that's in every single country. I know Canada, they recently banned guns, I believe, I think like a year or two ago. Honestly, your best bet is to move to a country that doesn't have gun laws like that. At least to a country that allows you to have guns. Because any advice that I give you other than that is pretty much telling you to break the law, which I don't want any of you guys to do. I want you guys to, live long, free, prosperous lives. The only way you could probably do that is by moving to a country that allows you to have guns. Favorite part of creating. I know it's gonna sound cliche, but my favorite part is creating. I've always been into videography, but I just love creating. Like, I started making videos when I was in high school with the GoPro, like I mentioned earlier. And then after that, I just got addicted. So really making my favorite part is just creating, like the whole process. Like, and I say the entire process. But if I was forced to choose one little thing out of everything that I do that's really fun or that I enjoy the most, I would say it's shooting the actual shooting portions of my videos. Would you upgrade to a better quality AR-15? If so, what different one would you go for? Yeah, so my AR-15 is, I don't wanna say it's not cheap by any means, but it's not very high end as well. I have the IWI Zion 15. It's about, well, you can find them for high 700s now, but if you buy it new, you can get it, it's like around $900 to $1,000. And yes, I would get a higher quality one. There's nothing wrong with this one, honestly. Like, it does amazing for what I've put it through and for where I'm at skill-wise. Right now, I'm looking at modern material, or is it material or material? One of those two. And those are workhorse rifles. I mean, a lot of companies that I follow, or a lot of instructors that I follow run them, and they run them through the dirt. I'm talking like 30 to 100,000 rounds through those rifles, and those things are still holding up. Obviously, with any AR-15, you're gonna have things you need to replace over time, but those rifles, they seem to be very quality, and that's gonna be the next one that I buy. Building another setup, gotta have a shorty now. Yeah, so I am going to build, I was talking to my friend Will about this. I'm gonna build an 11.5. I was gonna build a SPR kind of build, like a long special purpose receiver. I was gonna make that 18 inches, and I was probably gonna do, I said receiver. I guess it could be receiver or rifle, but I meant to say rifle. It's gonna be 18 inches, it's gonna be a 308, and I wanted to start shooting out to like 900. But I decided to pivot towards building a shorter rifle because right now, I can still shoot at distance with my 18-inch 5.56. Is the trajectory as flat as a 308? No. And can I reach as far as a 308 or a 6.5? Obviously not. But I can still get practice out to 500, 600, even 700 yards. And I think that's something that I need to get better at before I start upgrading that platform. With competitions and how I shoot right now, which is very quick, on the move kind of stuff, I think 11.5 would get more use right now in this stage of my life, as opposed to a longer rifle. So yeah, I'm gonna be building an 11.5 and I wanna suppress it, and it's probably just gonna have a red dot and a magnifier on it and just call it a day. I mean, I might add some more rail scales on it just for better grip, but I'm gonna try to make that build as light as possible. Not a question, just appreciate you for the awesome content. Keep it up. Thank you, I appreciate that. No question, just saying watching your YouTube channel blow up has been an amazing journey. I really appreciate that too. And it's kind of crazy, like when I started this, I knew I wanted to like reach a certain amount of people. I just didn't have a specific goal. And then a year later, because I started December 1st or 3rd, this channel of last year, and it's grown really, really fast. And it's crazy because when I started this channel, I actually posted my first video and then I went on a camping trip with my friend Trent, and I had no signal out there. So I was like, oh, I hope my video does well. And when we came back from the camping trip, I had 7,000 views on my first video. And after that, I was like, okay, I could see this becoming a little bit bigger than I was expecting. And then I took it seriously probably in August of this year, where I started posting more consistently because people were begging for more content and my takes and my opinions on certain things. And I started doing that, and I mean, the channel just took off from there. So I'll continue to post as often as I can. I can't guarantee that I'm gonna be posting every single week for, the next 5 years, But that's the goal right now. I mean, just every single week is very doable. You know, my schedule and the way that my job is set up, I'm able to go shoot content pretty much every week. When you upgrade your rifle, what brand will you go to next? Okay, so like I said earlier, for just my 11.5 modern material, for the SPR, man, what is the name of that brand? I'll probably put it on the screen real quick because my phone's over there, but that brand, or there was another brand, I forgot what that other brand is. I'll probably put that on screen as well. And they have the ballistic advantage barrel, and I'm gonna get the fluted barrel for that so I can shoot at distance. But those two companies, which are gonna be on screen right here, are what I'm going to next for my builds. They're reputable, I've seen them in action, and I've watched a ton of videos on them, and they're really, really cool. So, any challenges you faced in the gun community being a black man? Being black isn't a disadvantage to me by any means. I'm not gonna sit here and say I don't see color, but if somebody's gripe about me is my skin color, then that's somebody that's way behind the curve, and they're not gonna help me progress to the next level of my life. If you're worried about that still in 2024, then you put yourself at a disadvantage. So everyone that I've met in the gun community so far has had no issues with me. I've had no discrimination by any means, and everyone's just wanting to have fun and shoot guns. And I think we're really lucky to have a community that's more focused on the guns than the people. Well, I wouldn't say the people are very important, but race specifically. Are you single? That's my girlfriend. She thinks she's funny. No, I'm not single. I have a girlfriend that I plan on proposing to at some point, because I know she's gonna watch this. She's been trying to find information on that, so I'm not giving her anything. What are your views on tax stamps? They are unconstitutional. We should be able to buy things with our own money that the government already taxes us on. Looking for recommendations on GPR setup. So if you only have one gun, or you just want a gun that can cover it all, it's gonna be pretty similar to what I have. I recommend you get you a 16 or 14.5 rifle. I also recommend having an LPVO with a red dot as a backup, and you can have it at the 12 or the 45. It's completely up to you. If you do want to get into shooting at distance, you can put a bipod on it. I don't think this is completely necessary, but I like it because I like shooting at distance, and it adds a good bit of weight. So take that into consideration. If you want your rifle to be a little bit more light and nimble, don't have the bipod. Or you can get a bipod that has a quick detach. But mine is literally mounted onto a rifle sling mount, so it's on there until I decide to twist off the knob for it. What else? I would get an ambi charging handle just because it's convenient, because sometimes I'm in weird positions if I'm shooting at a match. Like not a typical match, but like some of the more dynamic matches, you might have to just pull it with the other hand. It's very rare. But also with the LPVO, I would recommend going 1:6 or 1:8. This is a 1:10. It's really cool being able to see 10x, but I rarely go to 10x just because when you get to the higher power, like the end of your highest power, the glass clarity kind of goes away. I always back it off a little bit. So I'm usually sitting around 8x when I'm shooting this. Even when I'm shooting out to 800 yards, I'll typically put it at 8x. And then obviously a light. And I know you guys are gonna give me heat about this, but yes, I still have the O light. I am gonna get the Streamlight X-Tac as my next light, but right now the O light is just fine. It still works, and it hasn't blown up on me yet. Oh, and a sling. You definitely need a sling. What's the most useful type of loadout for a civilian between assault, sustainment, and low vis, or any others that may exist? And where do you think each would excel? So for a civilian, honestly, low vis. Like there's really no need. Well, I'm not saying there's no need to have those things. I'm saying the chances of you using something like assault in a civilian scenario is very unlikely. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's very unlikely. So I think you should focus on low vis first. Then after that, I would do sustainment. And that brings me to a topic that some people ask me on why I haven't bought body armor yet. One, I just haven't bought it because, you know, I didn't have the money for it yet, but I chose to go with a chest rig before a body armor just because realistically, if something were to happen and I needed to travel somewhere, walking around with body armor is not the most fun thing in the world. A chest rig is meant to bear a larger load, and you're able to carry a lot with you for sustainment. So I would say sustainment would be second, and then assault would be last, because if you're in any situation where you have to assault, you're literally putting yourself in danger. Like, that is the point of that role. You're taking care of business, and you have a specific mission you need to accomplish. So yeah, I would say low vis for civilians, low vis and then sustainment, and then assault. Definitely have that if you have the money for it and you want to train in that. There's nothing wrong with that. Civilians should have anything they want. But I would do it in that order because those are the most realistic things to happen in that order. What is a daily drill / exercise that everyone should do? I don't think there's a daily drill that you should do. I think, like I said earlier, when it came to giving advice for pistol competitions, you should see what you're worst at, like where your lowest hanging fruit is skill-wise when it comes to shooting, and then attack that in training. What is a main issue you see inside the 2A community you wish you could change or is trying to change? Not talking about gun control. In the 2A community, I think that we are hypercritical, like super hypercritical of each other. If someone is doing something that we don't agree with or we don't understand, we just attack that person. Everyone is entitled to their opinion. I love hearing y'all's opinions on my channel. Like, there are some harsh opinions too. You guys, I'm not saying you guys specifically, but there are people that come across my channel just out of the blue and have a pretty strong opinion, and they say it in a very nasty way, which I'm like, you're entitled to your opinion, but we all are deserving of respect. I think everyone is entitled to respect until it's lost. So I think we are just super hypercritical on each other, and like we have a very Stone Age way of thinking. Like, we can't consider somebody else's thought or take without just getting offended immediately. And I'm not saying it's everybody, but it's just something that I notice. I feel like we are aggressive towards one another in this community. Yeah, I feel like we are very aggressive towards one another, and we don't really look at the community as like our community. We say there's a 2A community, but then we go into it and we're all fighting with each other. What got you training, and what resources, trainers, or YouTubers did you gain knowledge from before starting your own channel? Man, I got information from all over the place. A ton of YouTube and a ton of Instagram. What resources? I guess, yeah, Instagram and YouTube. What trainers? The trainers that I pay attention to the most online are Velox Training Group. I would say Achilles Heel Tactical. Ben Stoger. Or Steger, sorry, it's Ben Steger because it's German. I mean, really, those three are my go-to when it comes to just learning the fundamentals and really honing in on little things I need to improve on. But on YouTube, it's funny, on Instagram, I'll watch those guys and like all the like informative content that they put out. But on YouTube, I like to watch fun stuff. So like on YouTube, I'll watch Nightwood Guns, T-Rex Arms. I mean, T-Rex Arms does put educational stuff out on their channel, but I really just like the videography and cinematography they do on their channel, so it's really fun really enjoyable to watch on their channel. Tier 1 Concealed has a great channel, it's really fun to watch. And then Dirty Civilians, a really cool channel that I like to watch on YouTube. So I use both platforms differently. Instagram is more educational and just getting more information about like skill development. And then YouTube is just more of a pastime, really fun for me. And just gaining knowledge about random things I may have questions on. When to prioritize upgrading optics / gear in general, i.e. when is having a subpar version of getting a whole, when is having a subpar version and getting a whole loadout better than buy once, cry once? Okay, I see what you're saying. So when should you upgrade your gear to like maybe what you would consider quality over just having something to have it? Honestly, you can do the buy once, cry once at the very beginning if you have the money. I didn't have the money and I prioritized skill development over gear. But gear does help. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you guys and be like, oh, you can put any gun in my hand and if I have the skill, I'm gonna be good with it. Like, the skill transfers over, the gear makes a difference. Like, for example, my girlfriend's Glock 43X, I just shot this today. It was pretty eye-opening because this was one of the guns I used to carry, and I shot this a good bit until I started shooting my full-size M&P 2.0. I like to think that I've gained a lot more skill since I first started carrying guns and shooting guns in general. But it is so much easier to shoot this than this. The recoil impulse on this is sharp and snappy. I can still do it and I can still do bill jolts with it pretty easily. But then when I go over to this gun, it's just so much more pleasurable and way more manageable. when you have a little bit more weight, and there's a bigger slide reciprocating back and forth, kind of helping you soak up the recoil. I think gear doesn't matter as much as people think, but I do think it does matter. Your content is outstanding. Subbed after watching one video. I'd like to hear your thoughts on Canic if it sounds like an interesting enough topic to make a video on. I can make a video on it. I've only shot Canics maybe 3 or 4 times because my buddy has a TP9, but I don't have a problem with them. I mean, I haven't shot one extensively. Maybe I'll try to shoot one a little bit more, like maybe like a couple thousand rounds through it and see what happens. But I don't have a problem with Canic, and I haven't heard anything horrible about them. But at the same time, I can't just recommend them because I don't know enough about them. Been around since your second video came out about painting rifles. My question would be, what do you do professionally besides YouTube? You seem to have a lot of knowledge when it comes to technique, form, and so on. Just curious if you're Ellie or former Mill. I believe I heard you say it in one of your videos, but I haven't been able to find it again. Thanks, man. Keep it up. Yeah, so again, just a civilian or a dirty civilian, whatever you want to call it. All my knowledge on skill and form, that has been taught, or I shouldn't say taught, but I learned that all online from multiple instructors and from people in person that I shoot with. What's your home defense setup? This. And if I have time to get to my rifle, I'll get to my rifle, but this is on my nightstand. This is what I grab when I hear a bump in the night. Imagine you're teaching your wife and daughter. What drills, I'm guessing you mean, or dry fire drills, do you begin to get them the most acclimated to safety and fundamentals? I see what you're saying. So my girlfriend just got, you know what, I'm gonna put these guns together real quick because they're just sitting here apart after I've already wiped them down and oiled them. So give me a second. All right, so my girlfriend just bought the 43X, and the advice that I gave her was every night, I mean, she does it as often as she can, but every night, just take it out of the box, make sure it's clear, and then dry fire in her room for about a minute. And she's been doing it pretty consistently. And now she's a lot more comfortable with holding the gun, you know, making sure the finger's on the trigger, making sure she's pointing it in a safe direction, and, you know, getting a good trigger pull each time. That's what I would recommend. Just getting them accustomed to touching the gun as often as possible. And then now that she's comfortable touching it, when we used to go to the range, she would grab it and she'd, you know, be like a little intimidated with the gun. Now she gets to the range, she's still safe, she'll grab it and just start getting into work. So I think that was something that really helped her get acclimated with her firearm. How did you first get into firearms and training? So these are actually 2 different times. The firearms part came first and the training came much later. Firearms came when COVID happened and there was a lot of rioting in Atlanta. And while it was happening, I was like, all right, I think it's time I buy a gun because there was a lot of craziness going on. And then the training happened, like I mentioned before, just about 2 years ago, where I went to my first match and I watched and I was like, oh, this looks pretty fun. I'm gonna run around and shoot. And then I started competing, and then now I'm competing almost on a weekly basis. Sometimes with work, I can't do it every single week, but as often as I can. So about 2 years ago with training with a firearm, and then about 4 or 5 years ago was when I got my first gun. I have 3 questions that kind of build on each other. Do you have an idea of what your next rifle or pistol will be? Yeah, so the 11.5 AR-15 modern material is gonna be my next rifle. And then next pistol? Man, I don't know. I think, honestly, like I'm gonna run these M&Ps for a hot minute, but I do wanna try running a 2011, and I think the 2011 I wanna go with is the Bull Armory, I forget, it was an SAS tag or something. I don't know all the acronyms or the labeling they have for them, but it's a Bull Armory 2011. It's got 4¼ inch full size. All right, second question. Do you think you will look into getting a suppressor? Yes, there are a few suppressors I'm looking at. Otter Creek Labs has suppressors that I want to get into, and then AAC has some suppressors that I'm really interested in. And I'm going to suppress my 11.5, so that is something I definitely want to do, and hopefully can do next year. But there's some things I need to handle before I do that. And number 3, I've been looking at a shorter barrel 5.56 or 300 blackout with a pin and weld and a suppressor to make it a 16-inch overall length, requiring only 1 tack stamp. Do you have any interest in something like that? Shorter barrel 5.56, yes, like I mentioned in the previous one. A suppressor to make it 16 inches. I mean, yeah, that happens a lot with shorter guns, depending on the length. I like 300 blackout. I think it's really cool, but I don't really want one right now. I feel like there's a lot of other things I want before I get a 300 blackout. But they're really cool, and I'd love to have a suppressed 300 blackout. Those are really sick. What do you zero your rifle at? I zero my rifle at 100 yards because after that, if you're going any further, all you're really doing is raising the reticle up vertically. I have a mill-based reticle, so I can actually get a dope and actually know exactly where I need to hold or dial for just shooting at distance. But pretty much at 100 yards, you're able to just raise your reticle if you don't have mills. Like even if with a red dot, you just raise your reticle until you start getting hits. So I prefer the 100 yard for my 16 inch, and then maybe when I have the 11.5, I might do 25 just to make it easier for close range engagements. What barrel length is the M&P 2.0 you carry? So I used to carry the 4.25 inch, but I've been carrying this pretty much every day ever since I got it. I really like it. It doesn't feel too heavy for me, and because it's the gun I shoot the most, I'm the most comfortable with carrying this because I know my capabilities with it. I need to start shooting the 4.25 inch again more often. Maybe I'll do that my next couple of matches just to run it through, you know, because it also has the Apex on it as well. Does dropping the slide on an empty chamber hurt your gun? I think it does. I do it all the time. So I'm not gonna tell you to do it because I'm not sure if it actually is good, but I do it because I really don't care. I mean, if I do it right now, I'm gonna make someone really angry. Some people just hate when you do it, and some people says it doesn't really matter. I don't know. I do it, so I don't know if that means anything, but I do it occasionally, sometimes. Like if I run dry and I go for another mag and all my mags are empty, I'll just close it and put it in my holster. Sweet, that is all the questions that you guys had for me. This video is definitely a little longer than I thought it was gonna be. I'm gonna pack all this stuff up. I am very grateful that all you guys have come to the channel and you have all these questions and you're very interested in the content that I put out for you. But feel free to leave questions in the comment section of this video because I think I'm gonna probably answer comments on this video a lot longer than I do on my other videos. Usually I give people about a 24-hour period after I post, and then after that, I'm focused on the next video I'm working on, so I kind of just leave that comment section alone. But on this one, maybe I'll check it for about another week and I can answer some questions, you know, as the week goes on. And so if you stuck around to the end of this video, you're a champ. But as always, I'll catch you guys in the next one.